The story of King Leopold II begins in 1835, in Brussels, where he was born into the Belgian royal family. From an early age, Leopold carried a deep frustration. Belgium was a small, young nation with modest power, and he felt it deserved a greater place on the world stage. Unlike his father, Leopold III, who ruled with caution, Leopold II dreamed of expansion, of building an empire that would earn him a legacy far beyond Belgium's borders. As a young prince, Leopold traveled widely. He studied maps, explored trade routes, and observed the rising European hunger for colonies. The world was being carved up by powerful nations, and Leopold was determined not to be left behind. But Belgium's parliament disagreed. They refused to fund colonial ventures, believing the nation was too small and should focus on internal development. Leopold, however, was not a man easily discouraged. When he became king in 1865, he intensified his pursuit. If Belgium would not give him a colony, he would find one himself. And soon, he discovered an opportunity in the heart of Africa, a vast region surrounding the Congo River. It was a land rich in natural resources but largely unknown to Europeans. Leopold saw fortune, power, and global prestige waiting to be claimed. But to take it, he needed a story, a narrative that would convince the world he was acting out of humanitarian concern, not ambition. So, he crafted one. He portrayed himself as a philanthropist, a benevolent ruler seeking to bring civilization, Christianity, and progress to a region he described as suffering and uncivilized. He created the International African Association, a supposedly humanitarian organization, and used it as a front for his real intentions. By 1885, thanks to diplomatic maneuvering and deceit, Leopold secured control over the Congo Free State, his own private colony, recognized by world powers. Not Belgium's colony, but his personal possession. A territory more than 70 times the size of his own country. And this is where the rise ends and the darkness begins. Under Leopold's rule, the Congo became a massive forced labor camp. Villagers were ordered to collect rubber, ivory, and other valuable resources. Those who failed to meet quotas were tortured, imprisoned, or killed. Entire communities were burned. Families were torn apart. Soldiers of Leopold's private militia, the Force Publique, were ordered to cut off the hands of victims to prove they had punished rebels. Rubber brought wealth to Leopold, but suffering to millions. Reports of atrocities began leaking out through missionaries, travelers, and eventually brave whistleblowers. One of the most influential voices was the British consul Roger Casement, whose detailed report exposed the horrors to the world. Another was journalist E.D. Morel, who noticed that ships leaving Belgium for the Congo carried weapons, not trade goods. Together, they launched one of the first major international human rights campaigns in history. Leopold tried to defend his empire. He denied accusations, doctored reports, and launched propaganda campaigns claiming the Congo was a place of progress. But the truth had already escaped his control. Public outrage grew across Europe and America. Writers, activists, and ordinary citizens demanded that the cruelty end. By 1908, the pressure was too great. Leopold was forced to surrender the Congo Free State, not to its people, but to the Belgian government. The land he had ruled personally was taken from his hands. His dream of being remembered as a great reformer was shattered. He retreated from public life, despised by many and scrutinized by history. Leopold died in 1909, bitter and unrepentant. At his funeral, crowds reportedly booed as his coffin passed. His legacy, built on ambition and maintained through suffering, could not be polished or hidden. Today, King Leopold II is remembered not as a visionary monarch, but as a symbol of colonial brutality. His rise was fueled by ambition, strategy, and relentless desire for power. His fall came from the truth, exposed by witnesses, documented by activists, and carried by the voices of a world that refused to look away. In the end, the Congo became his downfall, and history remembers him not for the empire he sought to build, but for the lives destroyed in its making.